Hi, beautiful souls. This is Sadhana. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to the court card series. I just thought I'd show you the chaos on my desk, the kind of behind the scenes of the video image before we start with the King video. So once again, welcome back. Welcome back to the court card series. And before we start having a look at the King specifically, I thought I would address an issue that came up that gets confusing, really confusing when you're looking at the elemental associations with the tarot and you're mixing in other disciplines as well too. And I was talking about the element of the air and element of ether and how that is so easily confused in tarot when you're talking about chakra psychology and the tarot. So the element of air in chakra psychology is connected to the heart. It is the heart chakra. And then when you move up to the throat, that is the element of ether. In the tarot, however, the suit of swords is most closely related to the element of air, and usually ether is connected to the major arcana. So this gets things really easily muddled and confused because when we look at the swords, we're thinking, all right, clear communication. We're thinking articulation, intelligence, mind, thought. But then if we go to all of that, where does that relate into some of the previous things that I've addressed? So if we are going to look towards mind and thought and higher thought, as opposed to book knowledge, we're moving up towards the third eye chakra, the Agnya chakra, which is all of the elements. So all of the elements come into balance in the third eye. So I don't really want to get too tied down about this, and I am quite fluid when I'm reading, and I just kind of allow the words to roll off my tongue as I did in the previous video. But I did want to mention, and I know I've showed this deck so many times, this is the Lily White Tarot. And one of the things that is done really well in this tarot is that she combines, Celia Mailsville is the author, combines the artist and the deck creator, the element of ether with the element of air. And so you have the swords as well as the element of ether. So you have this beautiful combination of air and ether, which really makes sense. And it makes it so much easier when you're committed to kind of teaching these things and working with querents and students who are really trying to wrap their heads around this rather challenging suit. So I just wanted to point that out. And if you have a specific way that you look at the suit of swords, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's one of the suits that is most easily confused. The other one, of course, is the suit of cups. So the suit of cups you would think is related to the heart. The heart, however, is the element of air, and the element of water is located down in Swadhisthana chakra, the sacral chakra, which also is connected to the emotions, but in quite a different way. And we do experience the emotions in the second chakra. We come to a much kind of higher level of perception of the emotions in the heart. So there's all these beautiful teachings that you can interweave with the tarot if you kind of have that familiarity with it. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on that because I may have confused you in the previous video. And we can continue to talk about that because it's one of the things that I love to share and to teach. So we're moving today on to the kings, and I thought I would start with the father of air. So this is the king that is, all of the kings, of course, are element of fire, but this is the one that kind of sits in the element of air, not kind of, he does sit in the element of air. And so very much like the Knight of Fire, we have a potentially volatile energy here. Quite different than the Knight of Fire because he has matured and he has integrated a lot of his experiences and life lessons. But still there is that sharp edge, that shortness, that potential for coldness as well. So while I think of the Knight of Fire as hot, 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 this guy here can be extremely cold. So they have this really interesting dynamic between the Knight of Fire and the King of Swords. And if those two cards come up together in a reading, really pay attention to it. As of all the cards that have kind of the opposite, oh, sorry, I just bumped the tripod, as well as all the cards that are opposites of each other. And perhaps we can look at that in the summary video because it's a really interesting dynamic to look at and to be aware of, should they come up in a reading. So here we have the King of Athens sitting at his desk, and he's opening a document. It looks like it's been sealed with wax, so this is a very special document. He's probably going to break the seal with his atham. He also has all these other documents all over his desk, and so that's quite typical of the court cards in the suit of air, to have documents and books and reference material, because their comfort is based in research, it's based in knowledge, based in book knowledge, based in documentation, rather than relying on their intuition. If you look here at the Dreamer King, you would think not. You would think he's more closely connected to his third eye. It almost looks like the hilt, a third eye here in the hilt of the sword, connected to his, potentially to his third eye. I haven't read this guidebook for a long time, but that's kind of interesting. Do not completely dismiss that. So your intuitive suit is not just the suit of water. You do have that element of intuition and the potential for higher knowledge with this suit. In Sanskrit, so we have the whole idea of, being, sorry, not in Sanskrit, in the yogic teachings, we have this very clear distinction between just general knowledge and wisdom. So intelligence and wisdom. And so the potential for this suit is to move towards higher knowledge, or to move towards wisdom. And I think you begin to see that, especially in this Father of Air here. He's kind of let go of that rough edge of having to prove himself. And this is kind of a really beautiful way to portray the Father of Air. You'll see that also in the Vision Quest, which I realized I didn't credit in the Queen's video. I'll add that later. I'll try to remember, put that in the description box below. So the Vision Quest Tarot has beautiful, beautiful court cards, very cleverly and artistically and thoughtfully connected to the elements. So here you can see the Father of Air. He has his drum with the feathers hanging off the drum. He's very, very peaceful. He's out. He has his, I'm not sure what you call this weapon, but he's risen above the challenge. He's not in battle. He's not in war. He's come to peace with all of his life lessons and his challenges. Looks very much like the energy of this Father of Air. So we have that potential Father of Air energy, and then we have this more stereotypical Father of Air energy, which, is your lawyer, your suit type. So the intellectual, and the kind of intellectual that is always having to prove himself right, thinks he can do no wrong, never says he's sorry, and seems somehow magically to know everything about every subject. And so this is not the kind of king that you want to get into an argument with, because he's always going to find his way around the argument, and he's very, very articulate, and he's always going to win, and it's just almost not worth your effort to argue with him. So to me, this is more of a shadow side of the King of Blades, or the King of Swords, or the Father of Swords. And this is a much more evolved aspect of the Father of Air. And I think it's really important to understand that whole range when it comes to this king, because he's quite diverse and complex, and not necessarily always, the scary one. I mean, this Father of Air is so very, very approachable. The Dreamer King here in the Tarot of the She is connected very deeply with this dragon energy. They are, I mean, to have the ability, to have the trust and the skill to actually mount and ride a dragon. He's also got the full moon behind him. So we have this sense of lunar energy and oneness with the animal, much like a strength card. And so he is much more closely connected to, the Father of Air and the New Era elements. And then we have this Father of Swords who's looking out from behind, looks like a bunch of dragonflies. We also get this sense of, a much more dominant and fiercer animal in harmony with a much more gentle animal. And then we also have the idea of magic and the whole idea of intuition and that kind of stuff with the dragonfly here. So I think these 4 decks are quite heavy in the positive qualities of the Dreamer King. And so what you're not seeing is more of a shadow side, which I see here in this one. Nothing wrong with being a suit, nothing wrong with being a lawyer. I'm just saying that when we cannot discriminate between book knowledge and higher wisdom, that's when, we're working with the shadow side of the King of Athens. So in relation to the rest of his family, and we have looked at all of the families before, perhaps we'll look at this family here. Okay, so here's the Dreamer Prince. So we're looking at the Prince and the King of Air in the Tarot of the She. And for me, this is quite a long leap from here to here. So here he's just beginning to discover that by disengaging from the chaos of this world, by closing off his ears, he can begin to connect to his higher intelligence. And so he's playing with that, or at least that's what I see here. One of the things I see. I also see the very scattered, busy mind when I look at this picture. And we have the energy of the sun, or perhaps this is just energy itself radiating in or out of his mind. And then the birds representing the element of air. So it feels kind of chaotic and confusing. But all of that has been cleared up here. And this seems like extremely high level intelligence and progress, a long, long way from here. You'll remember from the first video, this Dreamer Princess, gift of telling. So in this suit, we are also working with clear communication, honest, heartfelt communication, and learning how to communicate from the heart and to find that clear, authentic voice. And that's always, one of the lessons that is coming forth with this suit. And so she is just beginning to, with this keyword here, with this keyword here, we are reminded that she's just kind of stepping into those lessons. You can see the air swirling around here. So she's with the elements. Remember, this is a princess. Her foot is on the ground. She's connected to the earth, and that is her, that is the element of the pages. So we have earth, fire, and air. So this is your air. This is your double air card. And then over here is the Dreamer Queen. Okay, so it almost looks as though she's riding a magical creature, but she's not. She's either riding her magical books or sitting on her books. It looks like quite a fluid card, and I think it's probably been drawn that way to represent the element of water. She is the Dreamer Queen, so she's up in the air. She looks like she's above the clouds, and she's floating along in the clouds. I'm not quite sure what this is. I haven't read this guidebook for a long time, but if you do not have this deck, the guidebook is just brilliant. It's full of poetry and creative, thoughtful descriptions of the cards, and it's just really, really magical. So just having a look at this whole family and the dreamer king and relationship to the whole family, it's quite beautiful, and it shows quite an evolution of the development of the characteristics of the suit. Gift of telling moves to gift of liberty, to gift of reason, and gift of judgment. I really do love the keywords on these cards, and you'll find keywords on every single card in this deck, and they are all really, really well done. All right, so let's move on to our next king. All right, so Warrior King, Father of Fire, King of Wands. This is your double fire element, or your fire squared. This is, well, just imagine what happens when you have fire on fire. Lots of energy, lots of passion, incredible, incredible potential, tremendous leadership. And there's also this tendency to potential brutality or violence or extreme behavior. So on the shadow side, this can be kind of a dangerous character, but neither of these two on the left look that way. They've moved through their lessons, they've moved through the challenges of the element of fire and come to peace and learned how to manage and be in harmony with the fire. Fire is an extremely difficult element to control and to be in harmony with. It's very easy to get out of control. So if we look to the solar plexus chakra, if we look to how we manage our will, how we manage our view of self, how we manage anger, we're all familiar with how difficult all of those issues are to be with on a day-to-day basis. And the King of Wands is the kind of energy, when he's well and healthy and in balance, that understands that. And in order to find harmony with fire, you have to release, you have to relinquish a little bit of that sheer wanting to dominate and have power, so that you can find balance and you can begin to look like this or look like this. Jillian drew this really beautifully as well too. So she has the fox representing the quartz of fire, and then she has the salamander, right? So we've got the double fire element as well as the wand here. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to know about the Father of Fire? Tremendous, tremendous leader. So if you are starting a new organization, this is the kind of energy that you want to invite into your group for sure. You need to have a fire to get things going. If this comes up in a reading, what does this mean? And I guess that's, for all of these cards, that's really the question. It means either that you have this hidden potential and you can step forward into the role, or perhaps you really need to find a leader to kind of take you forth on this. So, this can go in either direction. In relation to his family or her family, and please remember, this is not about his and her. This is about the qualities, these qualities. And so the combination of these two qualities in balance exists within one person, exists within all people, or the potential, I should say, exists within all people. These just happen to be drawn as female and male. And so this deck really gives you that whole idea of all that these two have been through to get to where they are. The fact that they're still alive and standing strong, and they're still the leaders of the clan at their age, they must be tremendously, tremendously respected. And if you look into their eyes, you can see their warmth. Remember where the Father of Fire has come from. The Father of Fire energy has evolved from the Son of Fire, which is the fire element fueled by the element of air. So this was the kind of the knight that has so much potential to be out of control. through risk and adventure, and not much pause for judgment or thought or reflection here. He's going to go and he's going to prove himself and he's going to try everything and not be stopped along the way. So this father of fire, this is what he's been through to get here. And he survived. He survived because he's so strong and he's so very, very capable. I love the daughter and the mother of fire in this deck. This is a different kind of fire. This is an inner fire. This is an inner strength that is not possible to suppress. It feels clean and clear and extremely focused, passionate and driven. I feel like this young woman could accomplish anything. And so together, this whole family is a force to be reckoned with. When I contemplate this shift, son of fire to father of fire, knight of fire ruled by air becomes father of fire ruled by fire. So the two elements of fire here seem to have blended together, and the fire seems to have calmed down to agree. But please remember that is only one aspect of the King of Wands. The King of Wands as a double fire can be quite brutal as well too, quite double fiery. But there is this other side, this other quality, and you can see it here, of that inner wisdom and that real kind of letting go of the quality of air and just being completely integrated in that element of fire. All right, so next is Father of Water, King of Cups. And this is our counterpart to the Queen of Wands. And so as we blend the fire and the water energy, we really do move into the heart chakra. And while the Father of Water has very different characteristics from the Queen of Wands, he's very closely connected to her through that harmony, through that balancing that comes of bringing those two elements together. So this is the father that's going to have the heart to heart with the family, and he's going to be able to sit there and enjoy the conversation and, be in the everydayness of life. And he's going to be able to touch and to hold and to hug and to entertain. And one of the things with this king you'll see in a lot of decks is it kind of plays up the aspect of the element of water and the potential for excessiveness, so excessive drinking or other excessiveness with the water. So to me, this comes from the excessiveness of emotions. So not being comfortable with the emotion, so suppressing the emotion through alcohol or other substances. And that can be a tendency with the Knight of Cups as well too. And that's why I was saying that the Knight of Fire in the night video seemed to me like he fit very well into into this picture. So here we have the Dancer King. So again, the dancer, that really fluid element. This is very, very much like the King of Air. So the King of Air was riding the dragon, and so here we have the Dancer King in the water with the sea dragon or the sea creature. So we have that beautiful connection of the water beast with the water she. And then behind here we have the sun representing his element, which is fire. So a beautifully balanced king with the gift of wisdom. On the Mother of Water, we have the moku as well too. So the Maori tattoo. So this really speaks to the tradition of the Maori people, who are deeply connected to the element of water and the rivers and all of the teachings of water. And so it's a really, I would love to do some more reading about that and understand its depth, because seems to be a very beautiful, beautiful culture. Love the clearness of his eyes. And you'll often find with a son of water and a father of water in real life, if they, those kind of people that represent this element in its purest form have the clearest blue eyes. And it's like when you look at them, you feel completely mesmerized. Like, that just, you could swim in their eyes kind of metaphor. And here we have another father of water deeply connected with his element. So you can see very much like the Dancer King here that the whale and the water are really one. And while he's still very active and fiery in the way that he moves with the water, he's very comfortable in this element. And unlike I think it's called the Youth of Cups, where he was more with his element of water and his body was moving up and out of the water towards the air. Here's one of my favorite Kings of Cups. This is from the Textured Tarot. Lisa did a great job in putting that one together. So let's look at the Father of Cups in relation to his family. All right, so Dancer King, Dancer Queen, both completely immersed in their element, but here we have a truly balanced energy as opposed to the Dancer Queen, who is the double element of water. So just keeping in mind what it means when they have that double element. And then here is the Dancer Princess and the Dancer Prince. The other thing with his suit, when we go to excessiveness, is the potential for talking about, any kind of mental health issues as well too. And if we have, moon cards and priestess, high priestess cards and other cards that have a lot of water energy, then, there's the potential for that kind of conversation if that has been something that has been suppressed. And so when you have a lot of water cards, you really want to pay attention and just be cautious of something that may not have been asked by the querent. So they may have skirted around the issue, but the cards may be blaring right in your face. Okay, this is something really, really important that needs to be discussed. And what this either suppressed emotion or overabundance of emotion or is bringing forth for the querent. And here is our Maker King, so Father of Pentacles. I should have really got out my favorite Father of Pentacles card from the Tarot of the Hidden Realm, but I have so many decks on my table. If you don't know that card, it's just this beautiful grandfather type holding a young granddaughter connected to the element of the earth. He's holding her. There's so much love in the card. And when I think of the Father of Pentacles, I think of that father that just wants to make sure that all of his children are well looked after. And there can be a sense of over doting, too much care, too much attention, not giving the kids enough space and enough room to grow. But the family members of the Father of Earth are going to feel so well cared for, right? The home will be, and the family will be well provided for, and he will be very much participating in the family. I said the Mother of Pentacles is the one who's going to be harvesting the food from her own garden and looking after, making sure her home is full of beautiful things and is also full of things from the earth. So you'll feel, wherever you walk in the home that, nothing feels out of balance. It all feels very, very harmonious. Here we have the element of fire with the element of earth. So these are pretty neutral elements, and so they don't tend to disrupt each other in any way. And so the Father of Earth just kind of takes on that real nurturing quality. He's really also good at supporting creative things, like creating things from the earth. So he will be a great farmer, and he'll be a great creator of anything that he does with his hands. Like he could be a carpenter, or he could be not so much an artist type. I see that more as the suit of cups, but you definitely could feel that kind of energy from the Father of Earth. And over his lifetime, he will have created many, many things. And he will be a very gentle leader. So he will be the leader of the family, but he probably won't be the leader of a movement of some kind or a big corporation. He will be more like the soccer dad, or I don't know, just the way I kind of see him. If we want to look at more shadow qualities of the King of Pentacles, what would they be, right? They would be leaning towards all that excessiveness with the element of earth represents. And so that's going to be that really slow quality, right? He's not going to want to go out at night. So if you like to go out to the theater, or if you like to go out, and visit friends at night, or go to house parties or whatever, he's going to want to stay home and, watch Netflix, or he'll make you supper, but he's going to want to have it at home. With all of the quartz of the suit of Pentacles, you can also have a look at the body. So there might be issues with weight as well too. So it's really important to remember the connection with the earth and how to provide a healthy diet and a simple plant-based and not necessarily plant-based, but moderate and balanced diet that comes from plants and animals that are close to home. That'll feel really, really good for the family of Pentacles. I thought we'd finish this video off with a 3-card reading. And as always, I invite you to participate if you wish, to close your eyes and just take a breath in and out and bring to mind what it is you would like to have clarity. What would you like to have clarity on at this point? Or if you have a very specific question, then go ahead and bring that to mind. I did check that the court cards are nicely separated through the deck. And then I've reshuffled many, many times. We're going to use the Naked Heart. This is the second edition of the Naked Heart. I'm very, very tempted to acquire the third edition, but that has not happened yet. So what it is that you need to know. So the first card is the High Priestess. In relation to what I've been working through in these 4 videos is, and you can apply this to whatever your question was, but we have rules, we have structures, we have systems, we have RWS, we have Thoth, we have Marseille, we have lots of different kinds of teachers, and some of the things that I have shared with you might not be completely comfortable. So your most important, sorry, kids come home from school, dog barks, dog's hungry. As I was saying, we have systems, we have rules, we have different practices, different teachers. So whether we're talking about tarot or something else that you practice and work with, it's really important that we learn from our teachers, we learn from the structure, but there's something about learning to listen to your own inner voice, whatever you call that. Whatever you call that access you have to your higher self is really, really important. So sometimes we need to put the books away. Sometimes we need to step away from the classroom. We need to step away from our groups and our clubs and our community. And we need to find a way to really tap into that inner voice. And right now, whatever question you brought to mind, that is going to be really important for you. Remember, this is a major card, and this lunar energy is not to be taken lightly. The more we are aware of the lunar energy, how the moon is looking in the sky, how that is affecting us, what it is we are or are not seeing in our shadows. All of this is really important. But that divine connection that the High Priestess represents for you at this time is really, really important. And the cards, I'm just going to pull 2 cards to just kind of support and expand on that thought. So we have the Two of Pentacles and we have the Moon. So we didn't pull any court cards. So the lunar, 2 major cards. So these 2 cards together, like I was saying throughout the videos, when you have 2 cards that speak a strong, strong message in support of each other, are either shouting loud to you with large exclamation marks, or they're pointing to your excessiveness in this department. So I really want you to have a hard look at this, because if you find yourself a little too imbalanced right now, the imbalance here might mean you need to go run up the mountain full speed and, work up a really good sweat, or ride your mountain bike up and down the mountain. Like you need to bring some fire element in, and you'll know whether we're talking about this as an exclamation mark or this as a serious, serious imbalance. Because we have the Two of Pentacles here, and that is kind of, I asked for clarifying for this card. So to me, this probably is about bringing in balance. And if you have been way too excessive in your, what do I want to say? I don't think we can be excessive in our inner work, but it's important because we live in a 3-dimensional world that we have to find that balance between, being an intuitive, being a yogi, being a mystic, and learning how to function in this everyday world. And I know for me, that is a constant, constant challenge. And so this card to me speaks to really, okay, get your feet on the ground. And perhaps, this is very, being in the waters, going down to the beach. Maybe get away from the beach and go into the mountains. Get connected to the earth. Have a look at your diet. Make sure your diet feels nice and grounded. And if there's any grounding practices that you have been neglecting, so what can happen is when we do a lot of meditation, when we do a lot of inner work, is that we forget about the grounding. We think, oh yeah, I could just dive right into the meditation without rooting and without connecting. And those are all really, really important practices so that your messages are clear and you feel, you always want to feel balanced, and it's really, really easy to get off and skewed in one direction or another. So that's your message for today. And I hope this whole series has shone some light on the court cards, perhaps given you a different look at a different way to read them. But just in summary, for me, reading the tarot is about, something being reflected back that is within ourselves. And when we do get a lot of court cards in a reading, just really look carefully at the energy of each of those players and the elemental energy that is connecting them, especially if you've got, the balanced ones matching each other or opposite ones, or you've got a bunch of double doubles and things like that. So I just have found that really helpful in interpreting court cards. And then make sure you get a deck where the court cards, you find are easier to read. Thank you very much for hanging in there. Thank you very much for watching and subscribing. Stay well, and namaste.